good morning, and welcome to the Africa Weekly Talk. Today's subject on the docket is about the current impact of the military coups that have taken place on the continent of Africa in the last 3 years, and the differences in these military coups that will also shape the political structures of these countries in the near future. But the current military coup that took place about a month ago in Gabon, led by General Brice Oligui Nguema, is a clear testament to a segment that I did about 2 months ago when the military coup of Niger took place in Niger. And in that segment, I talked about how military coups and revolutions can sometimes be good for countries, as well as also be bad for countries, depending on the path that revolution or that military coup channels. And I gave a clear examples of great revolutions like the American Revolution, the French Revolution, and the Spanish Revolution. But with regards to this military coup that took place in Gabon, it is a clear testament as to why and how sometimes military coups can be used to preserve the status quo of the political structures of a country in order not to change or to transition from a bad government to a good government. And this palace coup that took place in Gabon is a clear testament to that. But unfortunately, if you look at this palace coup that took place in Gabon and that of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, you can see a clear distinct of different path that these four countries have taken in terms of moving forward with their countries' political and economic systems. But the problem with the Gabon military coup goes all the way back to their first president, Gabriel Leon Imba, who was succeeded by Omar Bongo. And then Omar Bongo all the way to his son, Ali Bongo. And then now you have the interim president, who is also a family member of the Bongo family. So basically, if you look at this military coup of Gabon, we don't have to put too much stock into this military coup. We don't have to put any stock into this military coup as being a transformational or coup that is going to bring any changes to Gabon. This coup that took place about a month ago in Gabon is pretty much to preserve what is already there in Gabon. I mean, you're still going to see the same thing that has been going on, the corruption, the crony capitalism, the nepotism, and so on and so forth that has been going on all the way from the time of Omar Bongo. Nothing is going to change. Brice Oligui Nguema has been part of the system. He's been part of the system going back at least 30 years. And nothing is going to change that. He's a family member, and his goal is to preserve what has been part of a family clan in Gabon. So he's not going to change anything. All he's going to do is move the deck around. Basically, rearrange the the deck, where he's going to be the head for now. And then they're going to transition it to a very stable government that is also going to pretty much keep everything that is supposed to be kept in place. I mean, look, just last week, they removed Ali Bongo from house arrest on the condition that he has to go to travel for health reasons and so on and so forth. So, how in the world can you have a new government if that government is supposed to bring changes to the corrupt system that have existed in this country for over 50 years. Let a president who everybody acknowledges that was very corrupt, his family have looted a lot of money from Gabon, have billions or millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in assets all over the world. How in the world can you let a person like this go without having any concrete arrangement or agreement between this interim government and the former president's government in terms of assets allocation, in terms of where to find all this wealth that has been looted from the people of Gabon, whether to confiscate them or to have a very favorable arrangement that will benefit the citizens of Gabon in terms of recovery of these assets. You're just going to let this person walk by saying that because of health reasons, he can, he's no more under house arrest. He has to go and I mean, come on, fellas. Look, this tells you clearly that this is not about bringing any changes to Gabon. This is about preserving. And if you look at even the interim government that they have now, where they appointed who? Indom Sima as the prime minister, interim prime minister. Indom Sima was what? The opposition leader against Bongo in the last election, as well as Ondo Osa, who was also an opposition leader. And if you have former opposition leader now as a member of the interim government, that by itself is a bad signal. That by itself is a bad signal. So if you look around the interim government right now in Gabon, it's mainly centered around the old guard. So you have the same old people who used to be either members of the Bongo government or were once part of the Bongo government and became opposition leaders or whatever, who are now sitting at the same table with the current interim president, who was snared in an investigation by the Organized Crime and Corruption Office of the United States of America in 2020. And in that 2020 investigation, General Bryce Olugbo Nguema was snared in that investigation, which was supposed to be an investigation of the Bongo family's stolen wealth and assets that have been hidden all over the world. And in that investigation, Olugbo Nguema was snared in that investigation, where it was discovered that he had also bought assets or properties in the United States, millions of dollars in cash. He bought some properties in the state of Maryland, Silver Spring, and Hyattsville, and paid cash in millions of dollars. And when he was asked about it at that time, he said that was a private matter. So he expects people to keep it private as a private citizen. When this dude was then the head of the presidential guard of Ali Bongo, how in the world can that be considered a private matter? When you are the head of a corrupt president who is under investigation by the Office of the Organized Crime and Corruption Office in America, where you show up as one of the people who is also stealing money from Gabon and investing in the United States real estate business. How in the world is that a private matter? And this is the person who is now in charge of the interim government. And this is the very person that the people of Gabon went onto the street to celebrate when Ali Bongo was overthrown. You see, that is very sad. That is very, very sad in the sense that you have people of a country who were jubilating to see a new day of corruption-free for the people of Gabon, and then to coming to find out that the very person that is now in charge is also linked to some of the most corrupt governments in Gabon. He is linked to the hit to Ali Bongo in terms of the level of corruption in that country, and is led in an investigation in the United States of America, where he paid cash in millions of dollars to about 3 properties in the state of Maryland. I mean, so looking at that, how can you expect a person who is also snared in a corruption investigation in the United States? How in the world do we expect that this guy is going to come with any transformational changes in terms of corruption and bring about democratic systems in Gabon? It's not going to happen. I mean, this man has benefited from the very corrupt government that he was part of it. And now all of a sudden, we expect him to come in there and change things? Heck no. It's not going to happen. I mean, it's like asking the fox to guard the hen house. That is what basically is going on in Gabon right now. This is the fox guarding the hen house. I mean, this man is snared in an investigation in the United States where he paid millions of dollars in cash. Where did he get that money from? Where did he get over $3 million in cash to buy properties in the United States from as the head of a presidential guard of Gabon? Where did he get that money from? And now this person is being expected to bring about transformational changes to Gabon. It ain't happening, fellas. I mean, it's not going to happen. This man is just as corrupt as Ali Bongo. I mean, he's just as corrupt. He's been part of the system ever since he's been in the military or whatever. So at the end of the day, nothing is going to change. So basically, if you look at what this coup is about in Gabon, this coup in Gabon is about to preserve. It's about to preserve the lootings, the corruption of Ali Bongo's family and his family, as well as all the crony capitalist friends and so forth that have been in Gabon and been looting the resources of the people of Gabon. That's what this coup is about. But you see, if you look at this coup and the way the international community, especially the United Nations and France, have moved towards this coup compared to how the coup in Niger was looked upon by the ECOWAS community and France and so on and so forth, talking about going to invade Niger to bring to restore the democratically elected government and so on and so forth. And then you look at what is happening in Gabon, you can tell the clear difference in terms of how the approach that has been taken even by the United Nations. You had the United Nations Special Envoy to Central African Republic visiting this interim government about last week or so, where they talk about 12-month transitional period for this government to transition to a democratic system. Now, you never heard that with Niger. You know why, fellas? You see, if you look at the path that the Niger, military leaders of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso have taken, so they have taken an independent path of the West, basically looking for the interest of their various countries' citizens. So they have taken a path where they are willing to work to build their countries to help their citizens. Whilst if you look at Gabon's military coup that took place last month, it's about preserving the status quo, preserving what Ali Bongo and Omar Bongo have already done in Gabon. So this is not about changing anything. This is about preserving the very corrupt system that even France have enabled, going back to when Ali Bongo was installed as president of Gabon. So if you look at it, the interest of the West in Gabon is being preserved by this military takeover by Olugui Nguema. So as far as the Olugui Nguema is not going to ruffle any feathers with the European and French investments in Gabon, they are all right with it. And this goes back to the segment that I did about 2 months ago when I talk about the West doesn't believe in democracy in Africa. All the West believes in their interest. And this is a clear example of how, if you look at the coup that took place in Gabon, is being perceived by the Western countries compared to the one in Niger, tells you exactly what I talked about, how the West sees Africa in terms of democracy and also and so forth. I mean, look, they sent a Central African Republic UN representative to talk about transitional period. Okay? And that is what we are talking about. So basically, these people are comfortable. The UN, as well as the Western countries, France, are comfortable with these new leaders in Gabon. As far as they preserve the investments that are in Gabon, in terms of the oil investments, talk about Total and so on and so forth, they are okay. So this is not about bringing any transformational changes to benefit the people of Gabon. So I'm very, very disappointed, to be frank with you guys, fellas. I am very disappointed because I was thinking maybe this thing was going to usher in a new day, just like the people of Gabon thought. But if you look at the history of who is in charge now, and if you look at even the transitional government that they have, and the leaders that they have around that table right now, basically this is just shuffling the deck. That is all this is about. Just moving pieces of furniture around. By the end of the day, you have another family member of the Bongo family who happens to be in Guema, now in charge, preserving the status quo as well as the wealth of these families. So nothing is going to change. I mean, just last week, this guy was removed from house arrest, Ali Bongo, on health grounds. And from the news report, he'll be able to travel outside the country for medical checkup and so on and so forth. Without any conditions. I don't know what conditions was attached to this deal that was made with Ali Bongo. I don't know. But if you really believe in creating a system where people will have trust in the government in terms of corruption and so on and so forth, how in the world can you let a person who has been corrupt, who has stolen so much money in the billions of dollars, owns real estate all over in Europe? So in some cases, talk about hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate in France. How in the world can you let a person like this off the hook without having any arrangement where some of these assets have to be recovered and sold on the international market to benefit the citizens of Gabon? If you really believe in bringing changes to this corrupt government that was under Ali Bongo, if that is what this new guy in Guema really wants, then he would have done something like that, but he couldn't. Because at the end of the day, he's also part of the system. He was part of the system. He was part of the system that stole money from Gabon citizens. And now he happens to be in charge of the system. So he has to protect his own interests as well as the system. So he's not going to investigate anybody. He's not going to go after assets that have been stolen from the people of Gabon. No. How in the world can he do that when he's been part of the system? So it's very, very unfortunate. I mean, it's very, very sad. But that is what you people of Gabon have to deal with. A lot of times when you talk about corruption in Africa, a lot of people don't understand the impact of corruption and how corruption have deprived basic human amenities for the citizens of Africa. I mean, high level of infant mortality rates that most African children don't even live to see 2-year birthdays because of bad infrastructures, bad medical systems, and so on and so forth. And all of these can be attributed in some ways to the level of corruption in Africa. And a lot of time when you talk about corruption, people don't even relate it to all of these things: infant mortality rates, high poverty levels, and so on and so forth. Because at the end of the day, when you have governments taking the resources from their various African countries, these resources that are being stolen and taken away from these countries deprive these citizens of the very infrastructures that are needed for them to use to build or develop their various African countries. And that is what corruption does. So you have a guy who is now in charge in Gabon, who basically is now preserving the family political clan of the Bongo family. He's preserving that, and he will never bring any fundamental changes to the level of corruption that have occurred under Ali Bongo and the Omar Bongo family since right after the death of Imba in 1967. So basically, everything that is going to happen in Gabon right now is basically to preserve the status quo. It's sad, but that is what is going to happen. And that is what is happening right now. And like I stated earlier also, you see the international community warming towards these people. Because at the end of the day, he's not ruffling any feathers with the investments of the Western powers. So as far as Total and all the rest have their investment intact under this corrupt government, it's okay with the European countries. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. And this is exactly what I've been talking about when it comes to the democratic systems that we have in Africa. That the West does not believe in democracy in Africa. So, fellows, let's take that away. The West does not believe in democratic systems in Africa. They believe in their interest. As far as they have somebody sitting at the head who will preserve their interests, their investments, and give them what they want, it doesn't matter what that person does. As far as they get their interests secured, it's okay. And that's a clear example of what is happening in Gabon. And now compare that to what happened in Burkina Faso and Mali and Niger. You see, they are all over Niger, threatening Niger to go to war to restore that government. Because you know why? Because the Niger government, the Burkina Faso government, and the Mali government have made it clear to the West that they are ready to stand up and fight for their citizens. So they are not going to give the West any break. They have to deal with them accordingly, just like any country that they will have to deal with. And the West, especially France, is not having that. So, fellows, this is a clear example of how the West will always see Africa. As far as it benefits their interest, they are okay with it. As far as it doesn't benefit their interest, then they have to do something about that government. And that is why they are so much against Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. Because those three countries have taken a very clear path towards fighting for their citizens in their various African countries. And I was very happy to hear this morning that they signed a pact of military security pact, which is called what? The Alliance of the Sahel States, which is a good thing for them. And they've signed that pact to make sure that they can also unite in security terms to fight against the Boko Haram as well as these terrorist groups in their region. But fellas, so this is what I have for you guys for today. So if it's Sunday, it's the Africa Weekly Talk. God bless you guys and have a great week. Peace and love.